So guys, welcome to another edition of Rage Against the Dice. Today, we're continuing on looking at the different teams that are going to take part in the Fatal 4-Way that's happening on Friday Night Fight Night this week. And now we're looking at the former champions, the Furry Fury. Now these guys have had a mixed bag with us. Early on, they were picking up a lot of losses really quickly. And that to me felt like they were a team that you can't just pick up and play necessarily like you can the humans or the orcs. However, what they did do is once we established kind of how they play and stuff, they went on a bit of a winning streak. And then, as you saw, they ended up losing the titles to the Runic Thunders. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at the big guy first, the Rat Abomination. Now, all of these are from the Feral Den. So, Rat Abomination, as I said, he comes in at 300k. He's got 3 actions, and unlike a lot of the bigger guys, he's got 4 movements. So he's a bit faster on his feet for the same kind of cost. But there are differences. His attack is 2 silver and 1 gold. His defense, which is not as high as some of the other bigger guys, is 2 silver. He's got a strong grapple of 2 silver, 1 copper, and then his dexterity is 1 gold. Weight of 3, a pop of 3, so he uses a lot of his action points just to get his crowd pleaser, or in this case because he's a heel, his boo off, and then he's got a throw of 5, so you can chuck you a fair old distance. He only has 9 stamina as opposed to the ogre who had 10. And as I said, he's 3 action points and 4 movement. So now we're going to look at what he can do. So firstly, he has a passive skill that works all the time, which is called Claws and Teeth. This wrestler's brawl attacks deal 2 damage as opposed to 1, meaning if you can get a beat down off on someone, you've got 3 damage out of 1 attack. It makes him particularly dangerous, especially when he's rolling 1 gold, 2 silver to hurt you. His boo, or his crowd pleaser skill, all friendly wrestlers may deal 1 damage each to an enemy wrestler with which they are in base contact with. So this is really, really good, especially if you've got your rats either spread out or clumped around one guy. So what you can do if you're really lucky with your dice is if you can get, say, your rats around one person, like the halfling, for instance, you can do 4 damage just from that crowd pleaser alone. But as I said, it does cost 3, which is all your actions. Now we'll look at his moves themselves. He has a 2 action point grapple move called the Tail Slam, which is a knockdown. Again, this works really well with some of the other wrestlers. And when you see why, when we come to them, they have some skills that play perfectly in with this. 2 silver, 1 copper to do it, and it does 2 damage. But again, the knockdown is really what you're looking for from that. And then he has a rope attack, which is 1 gold, 3 copper, so it's pretty good. But what it does, it's called Bulldoze, it shoves you 1, but it again knocks you down. 3 action points to do, so it's all his action points, and it's 2 damage. And then on top, he's got the Flying Fang. If he hits you with this, it gives you -2 action points. So really good again to do on something big like a troll or an ogre that only has 3 action points. It does 4 damage. It's got a range of 4, 2 gold, 1 silver to do it. So you can see straight away with the Rat Abomination, he wants to make use of those moves that knock your opponent down. And we're going to go straight into the Ratman Brawler to show you exactly why. The Ratman Brawler has a passive skill called Dirty Fighter, meaning that the wrestler's brawl attacks do 2 damage if your opponent is knocked down. So you use the Rat Abomination to knock them down and then the Brawler to go to town on them afterwards. We'll cover the rest of his moves in a moment. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the rest of his card. 200k to purchase said guy. And for a 6 stamina wrestler, again, he's not as strong, or he's not as steady on his feet as, say, the Human Brawler, which is his equivalent for the same price. But his stats are good. 2 silver for attack, 2 silver for defense. So he's pretty mid-range across the board. He's going to hit you often. He's going to block fairly often. silver, 1 silver for grapple, and then he's got a really good dexterity for a mid-range character, which is 1 gold, 1 copper. Weight of 2, a pop of 3, and then a throw of 4. So that pop, you can see with all the rats, is reflected in the fact that they're bad guys, and it's a lot harder to get those crowd pleasers off. You've got 4 actions, 4 movement. But we're going to look at his skills. We've already covered Dirty Fighter and how good that is. Now, all of his skills revolve around bleeding. Now, bleeding is really good, and if you've got the rulebook, you know what that's about. It potentially gives people the ability to take more damage in later turns. But first, we're going to look at the crowd pleaser, or his boo. This wrestler's rope attack and turnbuckle abilities do +1 damage until the end of its next activation. Now, that's important, because he's only got 4 action points, and it costs you 3 to get that off. You could still do a basic rope attack and get the +1 damage. But we're looking at skills like your Rat Rush. Rat Rush costs 2 action points, 3 silver, does 2 damage basic, and it causes bleeding. So again, that's the ability to cause your opponent to take further damage in further turns. Then we have his turnbuckle move, which is called Bat Rat. I love that name. If you manage to hit it, not only does it cause bleeding, but it's a shove of 3 as well. Meaning you could potentially shove him into another person or shove him closer to the ropes so that you can get him thrown out by, say, the grappler. It's a range of 5 with a damage of 3, and it costs 4 action points, so it's his full action points, meaning that you're not going to climb him up and do it in the same turn. It means you have to leave him vulnerable sat on the turnbuckle for a full turn, where somebody could potentially push him out of the ring. But anyway, we're going to move on to the Ratman Grappler, 200k. Once again, he also has Dirty Fighter. So, brilliant. Again, plays in with activating the Abomination first. 200k, as I said. 6 stamina, much like the Brawler. Weight of 2, pop of 3, throw of 4. So all those stats match the Brawler, sort of pound for pound. Attack 1 silver. Defense 2 silver, same as the Brawler. Grapple 2 silver, and then again the dex is the same of 1 gold, 1 copper. So you can see they're very good at activating first. They've got some decent defense, and as you can see, the attack and the grapple stat have swapped between the Brawler and the Grappler, thus defining them out as their roles within the team. Now, the Ratman Grappler is perfect in terms of he has Suplex, which is a knocked down move. It also swaps your positions. 2 action points, attack of 2 silver. So you'd roll, again, his grapple is 2 silver, so you'd roll his normal grapple. And it does 2 damage. But as I said, the key to this is the knockdown. Good for you, good for your Ratman Brawler if you activate the grappler first. He also has a 360 leg drop, which is done from the top turnbuckle. So if your opponent is already knocked down, say from the Rat Abomination, this does 4 damage instead of 3. It's got a range of 5, and it costs 3 to do. So the last thing we're going to look at again is his boo/crowd pleaser. 1 friendly wrestler may deal 1 damage to an enemy wrestler in base contact. So you start to see this popping up a lot. The Rat Abomination has it. This guy has it as well. So there's a lot of knocking down your opponent, and then there's a lot of cheap shotting them when they're on the ground. What we're going to go to next is the Vermin Brawler. He's 150k with only 4 stamina. So his stamina is less than that of, say, a halfling. His stats are, well, they're not brilliant, but he has some other benefits. 2 copper for the attack, 1 copper for the defense, 1 copper for the grapple, but then he has a dexterity, which is a gold. And that's going to be important in a moment, and we're going to cover that. He has a weight of 1, a pop of 3, and a throw of 2. So much like the halflings, he's not going to throw you very far. However, 5 action points, 5 movement points. So we're going to look at their passive skill. Both him and the Vermin Grappler have this, and it's twitchy. Use this wrestler's dexterity instead of defense when defending against brawl attacks, which makes them very, very hard to knock out. We don't tend to use this when we're doing Rage Against the Dice Friday Night Fight Night and Monday Night MVP games. Because we found when we were playing, it made them virtually impossible to hit and knock down, which is obviously one of the benefits of them. Moving forward, it is something we're going to use a lot more, because we are trying to tailor the game to be still fun, still all that, but also to keep it as rule accurate as possible. And that's because you guys have given us feedback saying that that's something you want. And I understand it. When I get into a new game, one of the first things I do is I go on YouTube and I see if there's playthroughs and stuff of it, so I can pick up little bits of rules passively while I'm painting. So if you're not getting told certain rules, or certain rules are being modified for more entertainment value, I can understand why it would be frustrating for you. So we're going to try and keep a good balance. But anyway, moving on from that. His crowd pleaser. All enemy wrestlers within 2 squares gain -1 movement point counter. Again, really good against bigger guys who've only got the small movement. But in general, if you can get in with a clump of guys, because he's got the 5 movement, you can do your crowd pleaser and then get out. You're going to affect a lot of people around you, and that's really cool. Now, his brawl attacks come in the form of a rope bounce and a turnbuckle, and I'm going to cover what they are. So his rope bounce is called Skitter Slam. If successful, place this wrestler in base contact with any enemy wrestler within 3 squares and make a 0 action point brawl attack against them. So a free attack, basically. And that's really good. It costs 3 action points to do. It's done on 3 silver. And it's a damage of 2. So not only does it do a decent amount of damage, and it's a mid-range based attack at 3, it then gives you the ability to attack either him or a different opponent for free. So it's really good in that respect. And then he has a turnbuckle move, which is called Rodeo Rodent. Again, I love the names of all the turnbuckle moves, but the rat one specifically really made me laugh. It's a shove of 2. It costs 3 to do. It's 3 silver, 3 damage, and it's got a range of 6. So it's got the biggest range we've seen so far of the characters we've looked at. And that's particularly cool. And then we're going to move on to the Vermin Grappler. Now, much like with the Brawlers, and the Ratman, Brawler and Grappler, their stats are similar but switched around. 150k, 4 stamina, weight 1, pop 2, throw 2, and a dexterity of gold. Again, they have Twitchy, which is why they make use of that gold. Then it's defense, same, 1 copper. Then it's an attack of 1 copper and 2 copper for the grapple. Again, just to switch around from the Vermin Brawler. He has leg lock, which we've seen before, which gives you -2 movement points, 2 copper to do, and it's a damage of 1. So again, it's really all about slowing your opponents down. And then he has the Ratman Slam Jam. It's a Fury attack, which means if he manages to successfully do it, he then gets to give you a slap for free. 3 AP, performed on 1 gold, 3 damage, and again a range of 6. So the rats can leap far from the turnbuckle, which is fitting. Rat's quite agile. His crowd pleaser, this wrestler gains +1 defense and +1 grapple until the end of its next activation, and then again it's got Twitchy. So the rats work very differently from the humans. There's a lot of hit and run, there's a lot of knocking down your opponent and then violently stamping them when they're on the ground, and their turnbuckle moves have a big range, meaning that you can get people who are in the centre of the ring or thereabouts. The rats are certainly, they're not plug and play in terms of their stats. You can't just take them out the box and expect to win with them. But once you learn their little skills and their little nuances, knocking your opponents down, taking the advantage when they are down, using those crowd pleasers, or the boos in this case, to do those 1 damages, to give you those bonuses, certainly makes these guys a formidable team, and certainly gives them a good chance going forward against the Fatal 4-Way, and then if they proceed against the Runic Thunders, which would be their next challenge. So the team that we're going to look at next, we're going to look at the New World Orcs. Now, these guys are fantastic. They've had a mixed bag of results, but they are coming in their own recently. So that's the guys we're going to look at next time. Thank you guys as always. If you're following this and you're enjoying it, like and subscribe. We have had people ask us to do a more detailed, like how their synergies and things like that work. That's something we're certainly going to cover in a lot more detail. But we're going to do that as just like a retrospective of all the characters. and we're going to wait till we've got all the teams so we can do them all together. But yeah, this is just a basic look at the stats, what they can do, and some of the ways they might interact with one another. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Pray the dice gods hope they smile upon you, and take care.